What's up, everybody? We're doing a new series, which is Hypothetical Contest. Hypothetical Contest is if you had the choice of any two cars behind me, which one would you choose? But the contest is this. You're not allowed to sell it afterwards, try to make money on it. This is a forever car, and you have to keep it forever. It's not a question about money. It's a question about passion and which one you would enjoy the most. So to start off this series, we have a 2002 Dodge Viper GTS. This is a final edition, 2002, before they went over to the Gen 3 version in 2003. And we have a 2024 Wrangler 392 with a sky roof. Beautiful vehicle. 2024 being with the new 12-inch screen and the new front grille. Very, very nice vehicle. It's got the Warn winch. Two completely different vehicles. And you're going to say, Matt, why would you put two cars that aren't at all the same? And that's kind of the point. So the Wrangler and the Viper, in terms of acceleration, very, very similar. The Wrangler is rated at 4.4 to 4.6, 0 to 60 miles an hour, or 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. And the Viper GTS is rated at 0 to 60 miles an hour at 4 seconds flat, or again 0 to 100 kilometers an hour at 4 seconds flat. Completely different cars. If you answer in the comments Viper or 392, I would love you to also add the decade you were born in. The reason is that I was born in the early 80s, and when I was a kid, this and maybe a Lamborghini Countach were the vehicles that we saw on my wall, the posters that we saw on my wall, and we saw, my friends had this, like the Viper was such an iconic vehicle. Everybody my age tended to dream about it. It was the Lamborghini Countach, the Ferrari F40, and the Viper. Those were like the three main cars that you would see on, kids' walls who like cars. 392, of course, did not exist back then, so it's a completely different vehicle. Now, let's go through a little bit of the pros and cons of each vehicle. Now, the Viper is iconic. I believe the Viper will age better than the Wrangler because a Wrangler, a 392, although unique and has a really cool engine, I mean, if you look at a 392, yeah, it's a little different than a, either a V6 or a 2-liter turbo, but you can basically make a regular Wrangler look like a 392, right? With the bigger wheels, the suspension, even the hood. You can order a hood from Mopar. Obviously, the winch in the front could be installed on a steel bumper, so you can get the look of a 392 on any JL Wrangler pretty much. So that makes it a little easier to copy. To me, a little less unique. I'm not saying people aren't going to love these things in 20 years. I'm just saying I don't think it'll be the same thing as a Viper in 20 years, where I believe these will just always be loved and have a certain allure to them that I'm not convinced Wrangler 392s will have. I love this thing. It's got a way better sound than the Viper. When you start a 392, and you know what? I'm going to do just that, and I will put my mic right in back of the 392, and I'll get you to listen to it, the sound. The sound is just way throatier than the Viper. I'll do the same thing with the Viper, and you will see it's way tamer, although still a cool sound. All right, guys, I apologize. That video definitely did not do it justice. The mic did not do justice to the sound of both of those vehicles. The great sounding V8 and that Wrangler 392 and the beautiful V10 engine of that Viper sound definitely better than that in real life. So I apologize. I did re-record it. It was actually, I learned a technique from one of my colleagues who taught me how to record it a bit better. Hopefully you will agree. And the first one will be the 392 Wrangler. And the second one will be that beautiful V10 engine of the Viper again. So personally, I much prefer the sound of the 392 over the Viper. The Viper, I will say, also smells more of gas than the 392. And that's the other thing. The Viper, right, completely not practical. It's a two-seater. It's not that comfortable. I'm 6'5". I have no problem with my headroom. A little problem, especially with my left leg. Because the clutch is hard on a Viper, I have to keep my leg somewhat bent all the time, my left leg. My right leg is pretty good. I'm used to having to kind of bend for a vehicle, but definitely less practical. We are filming this in the greater area of Montreal. If I had to drive down to Florida, I would definitely choose the 392. I wouldn't want to even go down to New York City with the Viper from Montreal. It would be probably even a little too far for me. Now, maybe if you're a little shorter than I am, that's not necessarily the case, because the seats of the Viper are actually quite comfortable. They're impressively comfortable. But there's no backup camera. There's no Bluetooth on the Viper. There's none of the GPS, screens, any of that. It is a fairly bare bones vehicle. You have a CD player, pretty good sound system. There's no traction control. This is a 2002, so there is ABS brakes, which only came in the year 2000, I believe, on Vipers, in the Gen 2 Viper. But when you're comparing that to the Rubicon, which has, blind spot monitoring, it's got adaptive cruise control, it's got, obviously backup camera, park sense in the rear, a whole bunch of safety features, traction control, it is a completely different vehicle to drive, and you're never really worried of losing control of a Wrangler 392. I'm not saying it can't happen. Of course you can lose control, but it is a completely different vehicle than the Viper. My vote still goes to the Viper. I'm a traditionalist. I love classic things. I love older vehicles. And again, I think that the Viper is going to age better. I also think it's one of the prettiest vehicles that was ever built. Now, some people are going to say I'm biased. As you can probably have imagined, I am a Mopar fan by having a Jeep and Dodge next to me, and we are a Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram dealer. However, I really believe that the Viper, even if I were not that, it is an iconic vehicle. I think most car enthusiasts would agree that there is something special about this vehicle. It handles amazingly well. It's a fast vehicle. It even has a trunk. And Martin, if you want to come over here, I'll show you the trunk in the back. But, you got to unlock the back, and the trunk is basically the hatchback part of where the glass lifts. And you can put, a small suitcase. You cannot fit a golf bag. I don't golf, but I don't believe a golf bag would fit in there. It's pretty small. In the front, there are no cup holders. So if you want to do a long drive, there are no cup holders in this car. It is not meant to be a comfort, was not thought of when they did the vehicle. It's also unique because the seats, the pedals point a little left, to the left of the vehicle. So it's a little different of Viper. I believe they didn't have room because of the transmission and the engine to have the pedals pointing directly forward. So it's a little odd that. The Wrangler, on the other hand, you get in this thing, Power seats, you know, lumbar assist. It has lumbar assist as well in the Viper, but this is way more comfortable. A sky roof, which, I mean, it's pretty cool. You get in this, you can close it with a touch of a button while driving up to about 50 miles an hour or 90 kilometers an hour, a little over that. You know, really comfortable. The seats are also really comfortable. It's got paddle shift. It is an automatic. You can go off-roading with this. You can bring the kids easily with this. Not the same case with the Viper. The Viper, we're a family of 5 at my house. If I want to go on a ride, well, it's either I go by myself or I bring one of the kids. I can turn off the front airbag and have one of the kids come with me. My kids are 8 and up. To bring my wife, well, I need a babysitter. So this, we can fit all 5, and we can fit comfortably all 5, and we can go out on a nice summer day, open the roof, have a really cool experience. It accelerates pretty quickly. It's a lot of fun to drive. It's a unique drive too because it is a off-roader. So the acceleration on off-roader is not like on a Viper. Top speed, both cars are completely different. Even though you would think that the V8 of the Wrangler could go as fast as the Viper, the engine can. Now, it is limited to a top speed of 112, 113 miles an hour, which I believe is about 180 or 190 kilometers an hour, more or less. It is limited to that. And the reason why it's limited to that is its tires, its suspension, it's a Wrangler. This is not a sports car. This is not supposed to take corners. And obviously, when you go too fast, if you were to lose control, then something bad could happen really quickly. I'm not saying nothing bad can happen with the Viper because we've all seen the video of the Viper falling off a cliff. That's ones that didn't have the ABS brakes on it, but still, it is for sure a car that it can put you in danger really, really quickly. However, the top speed on this is 192, 193 miles an hour, which is about 320 kilometers an hour. Why? Because this is a race car. It is meant to go fast. It handles really, really well. If you know what you're doing, you can really push this car and have a terrific time. So what's your vote going to be? Is it going to be the honestly more logical Wrangler that's a whole lot of fun and you can do a whole bunch more stuff with? You can do long trips, you can go off-roading, you can bring the family, you can have a lot of fun driving it. Or is it going to be the unreasonable, but in my opinion, much better looking and much more iconic vehicle, the 2002 GTS Viper, and this is on top of things a final edition. Now again, money should not be the factor. So you can't, I'm hoping that you won't vote hoping that in 10 years I can get more money for this one versus this one or this one versus that one. I'm hoping more of an enthusiastic or an enthusiast response. Which car do you just, if I had one of those 2 cars, I'm not saying you can't have any other cars afterwards, but if I won a contest and you know your spouse can't yell at you because you didn't take the more reasonable car, this is a contest that you win, hypothetically. Which one would you choose? Me, it's the Viper, because I could just go to my garage and look at it and I enjoy just looking at this thing. It is an absolutely gorgeous car. I'm not saying this is not a good looking car, but I'm not going to go in my garage and stare at this like I will at this. So that's just my vote. What's your vote? I was born in the early 1980s. This is a childhood dream of mine. This was not a childhood dream of mine, obviously. It didn't exist. So which one would you like? I'm really curious to know. So if you could vote in the comments below, and if you can tell us what decade you were born, we'd really appreciate it. Thank you very much, guys. I hope you enjoy the video. We will be doing more of these. We are predominantly going to be using Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram products, although every once in a while we get a really cool trade, and who knows what else we'll put in those videos for contests. Our next one, depending on how this vote goes, might be the 392 and a Challenger Demon that we have, or a TRX. We're going to mix things around, and we're going to have sometimes the same vehicle that you're going to see against another one. And we'll also go with regular Wranglers, Gladiators, stuff like that. And like I said, some cool trades every once in a while that we take. We get a lot of more and more high-end stuff, so it'll be fun to do those trades.